Hello, BookTube, and welcome to the last week in BookTube. For those of you who are new to the channel, you wouldn't have to be all that new. It was a feature that I did on this channel regularly a long time ago, where I look back on my week of viewing and present you with some things that stuck out, some highlights that I want to make sure you know about in case you haven't seen them. Not meant in any way to be comprehensive. I subscribe to 1,000 YouTube channels, and probably 700 of those or more are BookTube channels. So that's a lot of content. This is not meant to capture all of that. I did it for a long time, and then I stopped, and I'm not quite sure why. It's a lot of fun, and certainly I've never had anything but encouragement from the rest of you to keep doing it, just in case I serve you up something that you hadn't noticed, and for the highlight and the thoughts and the whatnot. So we're gonna go at it and see if we can do this regularly. So I've broken these up into categories, into broader categories. And the first broad category is the broader scope of YouTube, not just BookTube. Although, generally speaking, just the way the YouTube algorithm works, the broader YouTube category will still have something to do with books. Like, for instance, the first one, Carrie Hope Fletcher, is a tremendously entertaining and heartwarming YouTube personality. She's a stage actress and singer. But she did a video in which she looks back on her favorite books of 2019. I think that's probably why the algorithm suggested it to me, but it was charming and very thought-provoking. She's a working actress and a celebrity, so she's involved in some of the books that she's highlighting in a non-just passively readership way. That makes it all the more interesting. The next one is John Fish. I've recommended him before on this channel. His channel shot up in viewership because he chronicled his first year at Harvard University. He's a young guy. And along the way, he has made a few book-related videos that have pushed his videos into my algorithm, into my feed, in which, for instance, he decides to read 50 books in 50 weeks or something like that. And in this particular case, he did a video in which he reads every book that the character Joe from the show You recommends. Says at the beginning of his video that he's going to do nothing else, that he's going to read these books like a job, 8 hours every day, and get through them all in a week. And he shows you the books, and he talks about them a bit, gives you a bit of his impressions, and there were two things that I disliked about this video of his. The first of which was that it is, of course, entirely a lie. He didn't spend 8 hours a day reading. He didn't chronicle this, take out his camera at bits and pieces over the course of a whole week. He filmed the whole thing in one day and did what 100,000, 200,000 subscriber YouTubers just do as regularly as breathing. Just change the clothes after every supposed shoot, change the lighting, change the position of the camera, that sort of thing. They put more effort into the lie than they would need to tell the truth. It's just they don't want to be bothered to do that for the whole course of a week. It's a gimmick. And that leads me to the second thing that I disliked about the video, which is the same thing that I disliked about this kid's other book-related videos, which is that he makes reading into a gimmick. He makes reading into some wacky thing that you do that's well outside the norm of your normal life, and that, of course, you're not going to keep doing. It's just a wacky thing, that's all. Other people eat jars full of cinnamon or have themselves wrapped up in plastic and mailed across the country, and I read these things called books, and it's so wild. I know that sort of thing drives me crazy, as I imagine it drives a lot of you crazy, since that doesn't actually reflect any kind of reading, and B, who likes to be treated like a circus animal? Nobody does. So, but there were things that I liked about it. He has a very engaging on-camera presence, and also his engagement with these books, however superficial and I believe fraudulent, in the video, will almost certainly prompt you to engage with these books, genuinely, to say, regardless of whether or not this kid is faking it in this video, I have been meaning to read that particular book. And maybe it'll send you to your shelf. So I wanted to recommend it. And I will leave links to all of these things down below. And then the third general, broader YouTube thing was, we're getting much closer to YouTube, to BookTube. This is an AuthorTube channel, I think, is probably what he would call himself. But his channel is Hello Future Me. And he writes a lot about writing. He wrote a book about writing that's very good. I highly recommend it. But he also makes videos about writing. And they are very good. Very, very thought-provoking. And he did a new video on the pros and cons of first-person narration, just to sex the heck out of it, with tons of examples. That's one of the strengths of his literary discussions, is that he brings in tons of examples of what he's talking about from a wide range of books. If you go to his channel and you've never seen him before and you like this video, don't miss his video on soft magic systems. It's brilliant. And then we'll get on to BookTube itself, and we'll start off, because I am a book reviewer, we'll start off with reviews. I have 3 reviews I want to tell you about. Ernestly Eston reviewed The Death and Life of Great American Cities by the great Jane Jacobs, and did a terrific job. Always heartening to see him use so many ebooks. How I hope that sometime in the 21st century we see a renaissance of ebooks done right. That would be so nice if everybody was holding up screens instead of dead trees. Then Josnet Ghost Reader did a review of When God Had a Wife by Lynn Picknett and Clive Prince. He regularly reviews nonfiction on his channel, does a really good job on it. I thought this book was intriguing. Apparently it intrigued him too. And Alan Moreton wants to give us a Chunkster check-in because, as you'll know if you go to his channel, you'll see pinned on his channel, he is doing a challenge throughout the course of 2020, Chunksters for Charity, in which booktubers are enjoined to donate money to Book Aid International for every Chunkster that they read. Every book 800 pages or more, or every increment of 800 pages in shorter books. I want to bring this up regularly throughout the course of the year because it's a great idea. You can certainly, in the course of 2020, spare a donation or two to Book Aid International. You can certainly do that. And it's badly needed. And these people know how to make your money go a long way. They get books into schools and libraries that otherwise wouldn't have them. They get books into training and professional programs that otherwise wouldn't have them. It's very, very good work. So, and the check-in that Alan gives is for Tim Willocks' book, The Religion. Great big chunk of a thing that I thought was, as we say in America, all hat and no cattle. And it was interesting to see Alan's thoughts on the subject. Then we move on from BookTube reviews to BookTube gems, and these can be any kind of category thing that just happened to strike my fancy that I really liked. And the first of these is Shawn Standfast, who I've already mentioned on this channel. I want to mention him again. He's one of our newest additions to BookTube, and a thoroughgoing bookworm, just a thoroughgoing. What many previous generations would have called a thoroughgoing bookman, and before you get all up in arms about that, Virginia Woolf often used that phrase, and it was often used in term applied to her. So it wasn't meant to be sexist, is what I'm trying to say. But Shawn is steeped up to his eyeballs in books of all kinds, and he has done many videos. I think he mentioned in a video that the flood of videos that we're getting from him is not going to be typical, that his work schedule is going to start to put a crimp in that. But they're fantastic so far. And the one I'm thinking about here is called Of Coffee Houses and Rabbit Holes. The title is meant to intrigue, and when you watch a bit of it, you'll see what I mean. This is somebody who has seen, touched, read hundreds of thousands of books, so always worth watching. And then Hannah at Hannah's Books has a video on Virgil's Aeneid that it's not her first response to my ongoing March of the Penguins. And like I told her, if there's any chance that if one of the fringe benefits, even small, of my ongoing Daily Penguin is to occasionally get her to weigh in her unbelievably intelligent and eloquent way on any of the things that I mentioned, then that was worth it all right there. And her video on the Aeneid is fantastic. Just fantastic. Then IvyMuse does a video in which she rates the best books of the last decade. I've had many people email me because I leave my email address in every video. And I don't mean to sound rueful about that. I absolutely love the fact that you all email me about all kinds of things. I've been getting tons and tons of fascinating emails about people not only describing their laptop setups, but showing me their laptop setups, because I mentioned that a friend of mine is working on a book on that subject. But also, I hear about disagreements in the family. I hear about obstreperous grandchildren. I hear about relationship troubles, and I love it. Absolutely love it. I consider it an enormous honor. But anyway, I've had a number of people in emails to me ask if I could do the same thing. If now that we're in 2020, could I rate the 2010s? Could I talk about the standout books of that decade? And I have typically responded by saying, Well, I have a year-end roundup list that I do every year. That is it's a big deal. It's Steve Reed's year-end roundup, the best and worst books of every year, and that my opinions are glacial. They don't undergo tectonic upheaval. So that if you want, you could go back and just look at the best books in all the categories from those years and assemble that list yourself. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought that's kind of bloodless, and it doesn't leave any room for. Upheavals might not have happened, but I might have had second and third thoughts about some of those books. There might be some things that weren't on those lists that I would now add to them, or things that I would subtract to them. So I probably will do a version of IvyMuse's video. Then Katie at Books and Things takes a look back at the books of 2019. She already did a video about the books that she read. These are about her rereads. She strikes me as very much something that I used to be, a thoroughgoing creature of rereading, someone who loves and really does rereading right. I don't do as much of it as I used to because I spend so much of my time with new releases, but her reread is fantastic. So then Cam at Wolfshot Publishing did a video on book Twitter, its strengths and its many weaknesses, its penchant for unbelievable toxic behavior. And it's amazing. And the subject is fascinating anyway. But these new sort of quasi-documentary style, all-encompassing attempts to be objective and yet funny subject-related videos of his are terrific. It's just terrific. It's something to bookmark and watch a few times. It's something to refer back to. A very good piece of work. And Pints and Paperbacks used a video to sing the praises of Phil Dragash's radio dramatization of the entirety of Lord of the Rings, which is differentiated from the BBC's famous documentary or dramatization of Lord of the Rings in two ways. One, it only has one voice. It's just him doing everybody. And two, he somehow manages to get the permission to use the music, the occasional music and the sound effects from the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movies as background music all throughout his readings. And Pints and Paperbacks points out that it is the best audiobook ever, and that it's totally free. And he's right on both counts. I don't know about the absolute best. It is absolutely fantastic. And you can find all of it on YouTube. You don't have to pay a thing for it. So I highly I want to second his recommendation. I highly, highly recommend that whole production. What an amazing labor of love that must have been to do. How long that must have taken. Good Lord, I don't even want to think about it. Then at the end of every Last Week in BookTube, we will have a Rogues Gallery. And today's Rogues Gallery, of course, you should see this coming, is the one and only, thank God, David Murphy, who is threatening to do a Milton Friedman read-along. I swear. He took all the PR notices about our little corner of BookTube letting its freak flag fly, and he ran with them. A Milton Friedman read-along. So his book Free to Choose. So I will leave a link in case you are interested in getting a copy of Milton Friedman and reading along. God. And then, to wrap up here, we'll do one extra. We'll do an extra at the end of every one of these videos. And the extra today is Claudia at Spinster's Library, who does a non-book related video about turning gray in her teens and 20s, about her hair going gray early in her life and what that was like. And I watched it with a big smile on my face because I turned gray when I was 15, something like that. The gray was beginning in my hair very early, and in very little time there was a lot of it. And now it's very noticeable. So anyway, that is Last Week in BookTube. Hopefully a regular Monday feature. And I will leave links to all these things down below and urge you to check them out, even the Milton Friedman read-along. And we'll, hopefully, if you're interested, we'll do this again next Monday. So until then, I'm going to wrap up, but I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.